Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. And to kick off our next Earthrise month, I thought I'd start it off with a rare Siege set. We have here the Soundwave Spy Patrol Unit 2, which consists of Ratbat and Rumble. Of course, I've been looking for this set since it supposedly came out last year, and was only by a generous donation, once again, from the Grave Sisters, and probably a little help from their dog, Ein, too. We'll give him some credit. He probably did something to help. Although I'm not sure what he did. Frankly, I don't have enough pizza to bribe him to ask. At any rate, let's take a look at these two. And of course, we will compare them as well to their Generation 1 originals. Especially as you can see, first of all, behind them, the G1 versions are considerably larger in size. And of course, they came with weapons. But we'll take a look at them individually, and we'll go from there. Okay, first up, we'll take a look here at Ratbat. In the Generation 1 continuity, Ratbat served as a fuel scout. He would go and seek out potential fuel sources for the Decepticons to plunder. He also had a habit of wanting to bite his fangs into the gas tanks of Earth vehicles to drain them of gasoline, in a similar manner to a vampire draining blood from its victims. Naturally, I'd pick the day after Halloween to air this. And of course, the Generation 1 Ratbat, adjust the light here, that's better. The G1 Ratbat was notorious for having these very thin ears on here, and they are easily broken due to the fact that they're the final thing to lock the wings into place when you put him into cassette mode. And of course, a lot of people would just instantly pop the wings free when they'd transform him, and that would lead to the ears breaking off. So as you can see here, we have a rather rare sample of one that still has the ears. And my brother insists we keep it that way. At any rate, here's the new Ratbat. And they've solved the ear problem on him by just making his head one solid piece. Of course, it also looks a little more bat-like than what the G1 version did. But of course, in the Generation 1 continuity, Ratbat was sold with Frenzy, not with Rumble. Frenzy, however, has been released in another Soundwave pack, and we'll eventually get around to that. So, just so you guys know, I do have the third pack, but we will not get to it for a little bit yet. You will see it before the year's out, I can guarantee you that much. The only real downside is that this Ratbat has no weapons, unlike the original, coming with these cannons that also had little thrusters on the back to allow him to fly. I always thought that was kind of dumb. Alright, now to transform Ratbat into his cassette mode, you first start by folding up his feet, like so. And then you're going to fold the wings at the shoulder, like that. And then it looks like we lower his head into his chest. So we got to raise the head up as far back as it'll go, then raise it down. And then you fold his wings up, like so. And then Ratbat becomes a cassette. And if you give me a second here, we'll transform the other Ratbat into his cassette mode, and then we can compare the two. There we go. Of course, they're not going really for the cassette look-alike due to the fact that since this was released during the Siege wave, he could still look more robotic since this was before they came to Earth. So it's kind of an apples to a lemon comparison when side by side with his G1 counterparts. Now, of course, being me and getting in a hurry here, I forgot to cover the articulation on Ratbat. So we'll quickly flip him back into bat mode. Let him think he's Batman for a minute. Alright, once he's in bat mode here, the head does rock back and forth a bit. And there is slight articulation at his shoulders, so it does allow you to fan the wings like so. And of course, the tips of the wings do fold in and out. The legs, unfortunately, they can be raised up at his hip 90 degrees, but that's basically to transform him and nothing else. So, there we go. There's Ratbat. Now we'll take a look at Rumble, and of course, before any of you start spamming the comments about how this isn't Rumble, the package art does state this is Rumble, and in the G1 toy lineup, the red robot was Rumble, despite the fact that he was blue in the cartoon. If you go to any dealer and ask them for Rumble for either G1 or Siege, this is what you're going to get. So, when you take it home, if you want to call him Frenzy, do so. But if you want to buy it, you got to call it properly and call it Rumble. Now, as for the toy itself, he is kind of a cute, super deformed version of his Generation 1 counterpart. Once again, he's missing the weapons, which is a downside, but also understandable given his size, since they'd likely just be a small piece to get lost. However, one thing I would have liked for them to have included with this one would have been to have included some pile driver attachments to it. So that way you could at least give the impression that he was doing the pile driver bit that he was famous for in the cartoons. We can position him in a pose similar to that. Maybe some third-party group will make some add-on pile drivers for him. That'd be kind of nice. I know I'd buy them. At any rate, let's look at Rumble's articulation. The head, unfortunately, does not move. You can raise his arm up about so far, and the arm does rotate at the shoulder. His legs can be spread apart, so he can do a full splits. And you can raise his leg at the hip 90 degrees, and surprisingly enough, you can bend him at the knee 90 degrees. So, for such a tiny little titan, Rumble's got quite a fair bit of articulation, and he does carry over a fair number of the design elements from the G1 toy. I even like the fact that his feet are colored in a dark metallic gray to be similar to the actual metal feet that the original toy had. That's a nice touch to detail. Alright, let's move the G1 version aside and let's transform Rumble here. To start out with, we've got to raise his arms up and shift them at the shoulders so his shoulders touch his head, like so. And then next you're going to take his hands and you will fold them down so that they touch the sides of his chest. Then next we're going to turn his legs at the thigh so the feet face each other. And of course, if you're looking at him on robot side, all the wording should face you. Then we have him do the splits, and then you bend the leg at the knee up so it covers the hands. And then there you have it. Rumble is in his cassette mode. Once again, off camera here, I will get the G1 version quickly transformed for you, so we can see how they compare in their cassette mode. And of course, on this side, it's not going to be much of a comparison, since the G1 has all these stickers on it to make it look like an Earth cassette. But when we turn it around to the back side, it's almost a pretty good comparison between the two. Colors are sort of similar, and it almost displays the same things. So that's a rather nice touch. Now, of course, one last thing before we reach my final thoughts. Both of them do have a post here on their backsides that can be popped free. And that allows them to be used as weapons. Of course, we got Sound Blaster here, so we can attach them. Attach both of them here to Sound Blaster's shoulders. And then they become little personal shields for him. Not sure what I think about that, but also, as I had mentioned in my Sound Blaster review, they set up Sound Blaster to have the same gimmick that his Generation 1 counterpart had, in the fact that his chest cavity was expanded so that he could hold 2 microcassettes. So, let's see about that. We'll stick Rumble in all the way in front, and then we'll put Ratbat here directly behind him, and close it up. And there you saw it, folks. He does store 2 of them inside of him, and stores them pretty well. The only problem is now that I'm trying to eject it, Ratbat seems to be jamming the door. There we go. So, while he can do it, you may have to be somewhat cautious of the placement of them. As I can see right now, Rumble being in front the way he is, he's kind of jammed in. There we go. Got him free. I would probably recommend, if you're going to put Rumble in front, you put it so that you have the backside facing out so you can get the post. And that'll at least give you something to grip on. I think we'll do that same thing with Ratbat here. Let's try it that way. We'll put Ratbat in first. Then we'll put Rumble on top. See how they go in. And then, nope, they still jam it. They still jam the door, and almost looks like they've done a worse job of it. There we go. There we go. So, while it is a nice little gimmick that we can finally show off to all of you, I certainly wouldn't recommend it with these two. Since, as you saw there, they do seem to rather easily jam inside the toy. In case any of you didn't know that, but now you do. And I hope nobody that's tried this before has broken any of theirs in the process. Alrighty, so now we're getting down to my final thoughts. What do I think of the second Spy Patrol? Well, I do like who they picked. Ratbat and Rumble are a couple of the more prominent characters from the cassettes. And of course, it was always nice to get more of them, since they were the cheap cannon fodder. And of course, I had a lot of these cassette guys growing up. They were cheap, they were inexpensive, and since they were sold in a 2-pack, my parents could easily split them up between me and my brother, and that solved a lot of problems. Or created some, I'm not really sure which. My biggest complaint that I have with these guys is how Hasbro intentionally botched up their release. The figures were not as these two guys were not as mass released as Laserbeak and Ravage were. As every once in a while I can still find Ravage and Laserbeak on the store shelves. I have not seen these two on the store shelves at all in the area that I'm living in. So, obviously Hasbro did not distribute them as much as the others. In fact, recently when I had seen this set in particular available in Transformerland, the price gap between the two toys of these two versus the first wave pack, it was astronomical. So obviously, Hasbro did not release them in as massive numbers. And one has to wonder why. These were a little set of cheap guys, and a lot of people, especially the fans of the old sets, would have loved to have been able to get their hands on them. But for some reason, Hasbro decided, hey, we're going to be dickheads about it and just not release as many. And if that's going to be their attitude on how they release some of these toys, I think they're going to find that a lot fewer of us are going to be willing to spend our money on them. Are these guys a worthwhile addition to your collection? Yeah, I'd say they are. Are they worth paying a considerable amount of money for? Not in the slightest. So, buyer beware. Try to look for a good deal on them if you want them in your collection. Otherwise, I'm afraid many of us fans are going to have to pass them up. Anyway, that's my review of Soundwave Spy Patrol Unit 2, Ratbat and Rumble. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button to join our ranks. Make sure you ring that notification bell, because this month videos will get posted at whenever I feel like it at times. Also, I ask that you share this video with your friends and fellow collectors. That's what helps this channel grow. And also share your thoughts about Ratbat and Rumble in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.